What's up, guys? In this video, we're going to be talking about 3 phone flipping tips that David Kosciusko taught me about reselling electronics in general. So let's get started. Before we get started, guys, if you guys would, please help me out with the YouTube algorithm. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button, leave me a comment on what you guys liked about this video. Okay, appreciate you guys so much, and let's jump into it. Okay, so I have been mentored by David Kosciusko for going on about 4 years now. Direct mentorship. There's a lot that goes on there, right? I was also his head marketing coach in the phone flipping mastery program for about 2 years. I now have my own program. David has since mostly kind of retired from the course, the mentorship side, and I've kind of taken the torch on that. And I'm really excited about that. And I got some big things planned as well. But I am still getting mentorship from him, and I plan to do so for the next couple of years. But guys, I wanted to share a couple of things that I've really learned over the past couple of years that I think will help all of you, especially those of you who are just getting started in this business. So let's talk about some things, right? So number one, don't leave your job too early. I see people do this a lot, especially phone flippers. Whenever they've had their first like $3,000 to $4,000 month, they're like, "Screw this! I'm leaving my job." And a lot of the times they do that prematurely, and they make a mistake. I remember whenever I asked Dave, I was like, "Hey, I just had my first $4,000 month in profit. Can I leave my job?" And he's like, "I wouldn't. I wouldn't yet." Is that the first $4,000 month you've had? Is what he asked me. And I was like, "Well, yeah." And he's like, "Then I wouldn't, because next month, you never know what's going to happen next month." And another thing he also told me, he's like, "I wouldn't actually leave your job until you have at least $20,000 in the bank," which really set with me. Except the only issue with that is I didn't listen. My dumb ass just went and quit my job like 3 months later. And then I struggled for quite a few months after that. So don't quit your job too early was tip number one. And that one was very valuable. I tell people that now, and I tell them, because I didn't exactly do what he said. I did some of what he said, but I didn't do the whole save $20,000 thing, which I should have, because I would have gotten results full-time a whole lot faster instead of struggling like I did to pay bills and flip phones and stuff at the same time. Okay, so don't quit your job too early. Never quit your job too early. Tip number 2, don't start a store. If you want time freedom, he recommended do not start a store. Now, David does have a store. And I confronted him about that, and I was like, "Well, you have a store," and he's like, "Well, in Rhode Island, I have to." And I was like, "Oh, well, that makes sense." Okay, so there's some laws and stuff around that. So, but the reason he shared this with me is because he didn't want to see me lose the freedom that I had gained by starting a reselling business. Because starting a store, it accrues a lot of overhead. You got other bills to pay, you got employees to pay, you got different things to do, right? When you're flipping just, yourself, you don't have that. And you can really meet people on your own time. You can set your own boundaries. You don't have to be somewhere. I can go on vacation if I wanted to, right? Now, of course, I won't make the money that a store would provide me while I'm gone, but it does give me a sense of time freedom. Now, if you really want to start a store, I highly recommend you're doing at least probably 8,000 to 10,000 a month in profit before you go looking to start a store. I see people do this a lot, and they start a store before they've ever even made a substantial amount of profit in this business, and they're out of the store game a few months later. Okay, so don't start a store right away. I'm not going to start a store at all. I don't plan on it anyway. Maybe I will in the future. Who knows, right? Maybe I'll get a different mentor that'll show me something different, right? And we'll kind of go from there. So tip number 3, this one's good. Whenever it comes to negotiating, this is probably one of the best lines that I ever learned from him when it came to negotiating. Blame the market for pricing and why you can't offer more. Always blame a third party. So that was the key. Blame a third party on why you can't offer more for a device. So if somebody says, why can't you offer more? Unfortunately, the market just won't allow me to pay any more for this device, and leave it at that. You're blaming a third party. They can't argue with it either, right? So, you're not blaming it on them. You're not blaming it on yourself. You're blaming it on a third party, which in turn, to them, that's like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense, right? Guys, that's by far one of the best negotiation lines that I've ever used, and it works really well. Okay. So these have been 3 tips that I have learned personally from David Kosciusko that have helped me excel in the phone flipping industry big time. There are a couple others. I'll share a couple of others that I've learned. Don't focus on your cost per message. Focus on the amount of profit that you actually make. What else is there? Don't be too greedy. This is a good one. Don't be too greedy. So a lot of people, whenever you're posting stuff online for like eBay to sell it and stuff like that, everybody wants the highest price possible. One thing David always taught me was take some of the crappiest photos for your for your photos on eBay. Like literally just put it on a table and just take the photos, smudges on the screen a little bit, etc. Right. And then maybe price the device a little bit lower than what it's selling for online, just a little bit. And then, obviously clean the device up a little bit more before you actually like ship it out. And then a lot of people will get the device and it's going to be in better condition than it was even described. This is how I have 100% positive feedback on eBay, is because I do this all the time, and I'm not greedy. And I don't even own a light box, guys. Like there's no need to own a light box. All I do every time, here's my process whenever I buy a phone, right? I'll go to the Starbucks like 2 minutes away from my house. I will buy the phone. I'll set it down on the Starbucks table, and then I'll take the photos right then and there, just on the Starbucks table. They got good lighting and everything, so why not, right? And I don't do any of these professional photos or anything like that. There's no need to do that. And I always price my devices a little bit lower than what it's being sold, because I don't want to be too greedy. So that was one of the best things I ever learned, was don't be too greedy. And there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that I've learned from David. He's been one of my best mentors, and I really appreciate everything he has done for me as a person and as a business owner. And I'm really glad that I have him, consulting me as well. So these have been some tips that I've learned from David Kosciusko. If you guys don't know who David Kosciusko is, I highly recommend checking out his YouTube channel. Yeah. So, I'll see you guys in the next video. I appreciate you guys watching this video. And if you guys would, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment on what you guys thought about this video. It'll really help with the YouTube algorithm. And I appreciate you guys so much. And I'll see you guys in the next video.